Ryan handed me divorce papers on our honeymoon, right after we'd made love, for a $10,000 bet with his friend. At first, I thought it was a prank. Some dumb joke that I just didn't get. I laughed nervously, trying to read his expression, but he wasn't laughing. He was lying there, arms behind his head, grinning like he'd just won something. And he had $10,000. I sat up in bed. The silk sheets around me suddenly felt cold. "Are you serious?" I asked, voice shaking. He shrugged and said, "Don't take it personally, babe. It was a dare, a bet with Connor. I didn't think you'd actually sign them." My heart stopped. We had been married for 6 days. 6. I had barely unpacked my wedding dress, and he was already playing games with our vows like they were part of some frat boy fantasy. But I didn't cry. Not yet. I folded the papers slowly, stared at his smug face, and said nothing. He had no idea what he'd just lit inside me. Because 1 year later, I'd be the one holding the cards. And this time, he wouldn't see it coming. I met Ryan at a charity gala I almost didn't attend. I remember fumbling with my heels outside the venue, frustrated and ready to call it a night, when this tall guy in a crisp navy suit walked up, smiled, and said, "Need a hand, Cinderella?" It was cheesy, but his smile was warm, disarming. And in that moment, I let him walk me inside like we'd known each other for years. From that night on, Ryan was magnetic, the kind of man who knew exactly what to say, when to say it. Morning texts before I opened my eyes, surprise coffee deliveries to my office, long walks where he asked deep, thoughtful questions and actually listened. Or at least, it felt like he did. He made me feel seen, like I mattered. He'd hold my hand in public like he was proud to show me off, introduce me to people as the woman I've been waiting for. When he said, "I've never felt this way about anyone," I believed him. Every single word. Within 3 months, he proposed. It was on a rooftop. Candles, roses, that whole rom-com moment. I was overwhelmed, caught in this fairy tale haze. I said yes without thinking twice. The wedding happened fast. Too fast. But I convinced myself it was because we just knew. Everyone dreams of that whirlwind love, right? And here it was, happening to me. I wore the white dress, smiled through the toasts, danced under string lights while people clapped and cheered. It felt like magic, like the universe was finally giving me the love I deserved. But somewhere in the quiet corners of my mind, I remember asking myself, is this real? Or is it too perfect? There were tiny moments, like the way he brushed off questions about money, or how he always steered conversations away from his past. But I ignored them. We all have baggage, I told myself. Looking back now, the red flags weren't just there. They were waving in neon, screaming for me to wake up. But love, when it's dressed in charm and roses, can blind you so easily. And I was blinded. Completely. The Maldives were everything I'd dreamed of. White sand so soft it felt like flour between my toes, crystal clear water that shimmered under the sun, and a private, overwater bungalow that looked like it belonged in a movie. Ryan had booked the most extravagant honeymoon package. Champagne waiting in the room, flower petals on the bed, even our initials carved into a coconut. I felt like the luckiest woman alive. My husband had whisked me away to paradise. He held my hand like he never wanted to let go, kissed me like the world had stopped turning. That first night, we made love like we were the only 2 people on earth. And when I woke up the next morning, still wrapped in that blissful haze, I rolled over and saw it. A manila envelope on the nightstand. My name written on the front. I sat up, heart thudding. At first I thought maybe it was a letter. Something sweet. A surprise. But inside were divorce papers. Signed. Dated. I stared at them, not even understanding what I was holding. I turned to Ryan, who was casually scrolling on his phone, completely unfazed. He looked over, saw the papers in my hand, and smirked. "It was just a dare," he said, like it was no big deal. "A joke. Chill. Connor bet me 10 grand I wouldn't do it. I didn't think you'd actually read them." I just sat there, frozen. My mouth couldn't form words, and my mind couldn't wrap around what I was hearing. The man I had married 6 days ago had placed a bet on our marriage. A 10,000 dare with his buddy. He said he'd take it back. Said it wasn't serious. Said I was being too emotional. But in that moment, something broke inside me. Something deep. A kind of pain I didn't even know I was capable of feeling. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just looked at him, and something inside me clicked. He had gambled my love, my trust, my future, for a quick laugh and a wad of cash. He thought $10,000 was worth throwing me away like that, but he didn't realize who I'd become after. Coming home was the hardest part. I stepped off that plane with puffy eyes hidden behind oversized sunglasses, dragging a suitcase full of memories I wished I could burn. I didn't even go back to my apartment right away. I crashed at a cheap hotel on the edge of town, just to avoid the questions, the pity, the shame. I couldn't face my family. Not yet. How do you tell the people who danced at your wedding that it was all a lie before the ink on the marriage license even dried? I turned off my phone. Let the world think I was still sipping cocktails by the ocean. For 3 days, I stayed in that hotel room, barely eating, replaying everything in my head like a cruel movie on loop. The way he smiled when he handed me those papers, like he hadn't just destroyed something sacred. On the 4th day, Nicole showed up. She was my best friend, the only one who knew where I'd gone. She didn't knock, just barged in, armed with snacks, wine, and a look on her face that told me she knew more than I did. She sat down, pulled out her phone, and said, "You need to see this." It was a group chat, Ryan and his friends, screenshots she'd gotten through a mutual connection. And there it was, in black and white. Ryan had told them all about the bet before the honeymoon. "He thinks she's gullible," Nicole said, her voice shaking. "Desperate," she added. "Too easy to impress," she whispered. Every word hit like a knife. I felt stripped, raw. I had loved this man with my whole heart, and to him I was just a game, a punchline. But under all that pain, something else started to rise. It was quiet at first, a simmer, a heat. Not anger, focus. He bet I wouldn't see through him. He bet I'd fall apart. He bet against me. Now I'm betting on myself. I gave myself one more night to break down. Just one. Then I woke up, looked in the mirror, and didn't even recognize the woman staring back. Hollow eyes, cracked lips, shoulders sagging like they were carrying 1,000 pounds. That wasn't me. Not anymore. So I started small. 10 minutes on the treadmill. That's all I could manage at first. But day by day, those 10 minutes turned into 30. Then an hour. My body didn't change overnight, but my mind did. I could feel it. Every drop of sweat washing off the pain, replacing it with something stronger. I started therapy. At first, I was embarrassed to even speak the words out loud. My husband divorced me on our honeymoon for a bet. But my therapist didn't flinch. She leaned in and said, "Let's find out who you are without him." And that changed everything. Jordan, my cousin, became my anchor. She'd show up unannounced, drag me out for walks, send me job listings, pitch me podcast ideas, anything to keep me moving forward. She reminded me of who I was before Ryan, before the fairy tale turned nightmare. She believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. One night, we were messing around with some skincare oils I used to make as a hobby. Jordan said, "You could sell this." I laughed. She didn't. She helped me build a tiny Shopify site, slapped together a logo, and just like that, I had a business. I posted about it on Instagram, thinking maybe 5 people would care. But something about my story, raw, honest, unfiltered, connected. Women started DMing me. Orders trickled in, then doubled, then tripled. People didn't just want the skincare, they wanted me, my story, my voice, and I gave it to them. I showed up as I was, scarred, still healing, but real. I shared the mess and the comeback, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't living for love. I was living for me. It started with a like. Just a casual double tap on a photo I posted. Me smiling on a rooftop, hair in the wind, holding one of my best-selling products. I almost missed it. But there it was. Ryan Brooks 87 liked your post. I stared at it for a second, heart weirdly calm. No panic, no butterflies. Just, really? Now? Then came the views. I noticed he'd been watching my stories, every single one. The gym selfies, the product launches, the late-night thoughts I posted with moody background music. He wasn't just lurking, he was keeping tabs. 3 days later, the DM landed. "You're looking amazing. Didn't expect to see you killing it like this. Want to talk sometime?" I read it twice, then once more, just to really take in the audacity. No apology, no explanation, just sliding in like nothing ever happened. Like we were old friends who drifted apart instead of a man who'd humiliated me for 10 grand and a cheap laugh. I didn't block him. I didn't cuss him out. I smiled, took a deep breath, and typed, "Let's catch up sometime." Because this time, I wasn't the naive girl he once bet against. I was in control. I knew exactly what I was doing. He thought I'd come crawling back, but this time, I was writing the rules. We agreed to meet at a rooftop lounge downtown, the kind of place with overpriced cocktails and a view of the skyline that makes everything feel cinematic. I picked it on purpose. Ryan always loved being seen in the right places. I arrived 5 minutes late, not because I was nervous, but because I wanted him to wait. I stepped out of a sleek black Mercedes coupe, rented of course, but he didn't need to know that. I wore a silk blazer dress that screamed money and power, paired with stilettos that could kill if aimed right. My makeup was flawless, hair slicked back, and on my arm was Malik, tall, suave, and very clearly not just a friend. Malik was an actor, literally. Jordan hooked me up through a friend of a friend, and he played his part perfectly. Introduced himself as my business partner, mentioned a recent investor dinner, and dropped buzzwords like scaling, international licensing, and celebrity endorsements, like they were nothing. Ryan stood up when he saw me, his jaw slightly slack, eyes scanning me like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. "Layla," he said, half laughing, like he was trying to cover up his shock. "Wow, you look incredible." I smiled. "Thanks. Business has been good." We sat. Malik ordered a bottle of wine I couldn't pronounce but sounded expensive. Ryan barely looked away from me the whole time. His eyes weren't just hungry, they were confused. Like he couldn't piece together how the woman sitting in front of him was the same one he walked out on a year ago. Midway through a polite catch-up chat, he leaned in a little and said softly, "You've changed." I tilted my head, sipping my wine. Have I? He nodded. Yeah, you've got this glow now, confidence. It's sexy. I miss us. Those words hit the table like dead weight. A year ago, I would have melted hearing that. But now, I saw it for what it was. Manipulation wrapped in nostalgia. I looked at him and smiled. But inside, my thoughts were crystal clear. I'm not who you remember, and I never will be again. This wasn't about us anymore. This was about the game. And I was just getting started. 2 weeks later, I invited Ryan to dinner. Just the two of us this time. A private table at a trendy restaurant known for its open floor plan and very attentive crowd. The kind of place where people eavesdrop for sport and influencers livestream their appetizers. Perfect. He showed up in a tailored suit, flashing that same charming grin that once melted me. Glad you reached out, he said, pulling out my chair, like a gentleman. Feels like old times, doesn't it? I smiled politely. Inside, I was ice. We ordered, chatted. I let him talk about his latest listings, how business was finally bouncing back, how the market was brutal, and people weren't as loyal as they used to be. I sipped my drink, nodding, waiting, and then I pulled out my phone. Hey, before we go any further, I said, tone casual, there's something I've been meaning to share. I opened the screen. Hit play. His voice echoed through the speaker. You're looking amazing. Didn't expect to see you killing it like this. Want to talk sometime? Then the next one. I messed up. I should have never taken that bet. But it wasn't serious, Layla. You were always the one. His face dropped. Wait, what is this? Oh, just a little collection, I said, scrolling through the screenshots. DMS. Apologies. You practically handed me the story. He shifted in his seat, eyes darting to the couple beside us who had clearly tuned in. You're not serious. But I was. Because by the time I walked into that dinner, I had already posted the story. A video on TikTok and Instagram Reels. A stitched montage, the honeymoon clip, the divorce papers, his DMs, and a dramatic voiceover. I didn't even show his full name. Just enough detail for his friends, colleagues, and clients to connect the dots. Within hours, it blew up. Women started commenting, I know that guy. Real estate clients messaged me privately. We cut ties with his firm last week. One of his closest friends even reposted the video with a caption that read, Bro, you did what? He lost listings, lost friends. His name became a cautionary tale in networking groups and real estate circles, all because he bet on my silence. I leaned in, looking him dead in the eyes as he sat there, pale and speechless, trying to figure out how it all slipped through his fingers. And I whispered the line I'd been saving. Funny how you bet $10,000 to ruin me, and ended up costing yourself everything. I won't lie. Watching Ryan's world crumble was satisfying. For a moment, it felt like I had finally reclaimed everything he stole from me. My pride, my voice, my power. Seeing the same man who once laughed behind my back now become a walking, cautionary tale. It was poetic. But here's the truth. They don't tell you about revenge. It fades. What sticks, the part that really changes you, is the healing. After the video went viral, people flooded my DMs, women from every walk of life, some crying, some furious, some just whispering, thank you. And in those messages, I started to realize this wasn't just about Ryan anymore. This was about me, and all the versions of me I had to bury to become this one. I set new boundaries. I stopped apologizing for saying no. I stopped shrinking myself to be more lovable, more agreeable, more perfect. I started showing up in every room, personal and professional, knowing I belonged there, without needing anyone else's approval to prove it. I forgave myself for being too trusting, too fast, too hopeful. And I let go of the idea that loving someone means letting them walk all over you. I found peace in my own silence. And maybe the most powerful thing I learned? That my story wasn't about being broken. It was about rebuilding. To anyone watching, anyone who feels like someone made a joke out of your love, used you, discarded you, like you were nothing, hear me when I say this. You are not broken. You are becoming. And the version of you that rises from this? She's going to scare the hell out of them. It's been over a year now. Ryan never responded to the video, never made a public statement, never apologized again. But I know he saw it. He still watches my stories. Never likes, never comments, just watches. Silently. He never moved on. Not really. Word is, he's bouncing between agencies, trying to repair his reputation. But no matter how polished his suit is now, people still remember the guy who thought a woman's heart was worth a $10,000 joke. Sometimes, I wonder what goes through his mind when he sees me now, on stage, in interviews, launching new products, glowing in every photo. Not because I care about his approval, but because he does. He bet against me, thought he could tear me down, and walk away with the prize. But here's the thing about gambling with a real one. You only get to play once. He gambled my heart for money, but I rebuilt it with gold. And he'll never afford me again. If this story touched your heart, if you've ever been hurt, underestimated, or left picking up the pieces, know this: you're not alone. Hit subscribe and be part of a space where broken hearts don't stay broken. They rise. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Turn on the notification bell, because every story we tell is a reminder. You are stronger than what tried to break you. And your comeback? It's just getting started.